Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Joey's Scarf. Today is August 15th and it's a Tuesday, and here my name is Linda, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Linda Grace, and that's Linda with a Y. Coming to you from Barnegat, New Jersey, and that's over the bridge from Long Beach Island, which is a Jersey Shore beach town. Today it's very gloomy. It's raining pretty hard. I don't know if you can hear the rain in the background. I'm sitting in my sunroom and the rain is hitting the roof, and I can hear it, and it's actually a very soothing sound, and it's not staticky. It's not the video isn't staticky, it is the rain, and it's kind of cozy in here today. So it's been about 3 weeks since my podcast last. At least that's what YouTube is telling me. So I guess I'll go along with that. We've been doing some visiting with grandkids and going, taking little day trips here and there with the family, and that's what we've been pretty much up to the past 3 weeks. We've gone to the Cape May Zoo, which is about an hour from us. A little zoo, cute. The kids had a good time. We went to Grounds for Sculpture, which is it's a park, gardens. There's a restaurant, a very nice restaurant on the premises, but it's some acreage of park-like setting, and throughout the park they have life-size sculptures, and I'll probably be putting some pictures in here and there as I'm talking about the places that we visited, and maybe a little montage at the end of the podcast. So we did that, and we also went to Boonton, New Jersey, which is, I want to say, northwest of us, about a 2-hour drive. We met my daughter and son-in-law and the 3 kids, and what's interesting about Boonton, New Jersey is they have a waterfalls, a small waterfalls there, but they have hiking trails, and it was not a nice day. So that's another thing that we did. So that's pretty much what we've been up to. So I've been doing some knitting, of course, and I'm going to jump right in with the knitting. So let's start with finished objects. So the first finished object I'm going to show you is a shawl, and it is, well, let me show you the picture first. It's called Changing Staircases, and it's by Tristan Molina, better known as Dragon Horde Yarns on throughout the social media. And Tristan is a yarn dyer. I'm sure a lot of you know her yarn. She's got yummy yarn. But I think this is the first pattern that she has published on Ravelry, and it was a fun knit. Changing Staircases, I gather, is a reference, is a Harry Potter reference, and I'm probably the only person in the world who has not read Harry Potter. I think I saw the first movie when it came out, but don't know anything about Harry Potter. So anyway, I know, shocking, right? But anyway, this is my Changing Staircases shawl. And it was a lot of, like I said, it was a lot of fun to knit. And these little steps, I guess they are, this represent the staircases. And the lace. I'll pop a picture in of me wearing the shawl. The yarn, I have no idea what the yarn is. It's a sock yarn. I didn't have the label, but I like the color. It was very nice yarn. Whosever it is, it came out really nice. So that was a fun knit. That is my first finished object. And it's probably going to go into my box, my Christmas gift box. And I've been kind of accumulating things. I haven't decided who's going to get what, but that's what I've been doing with the knitting that I've been doing lately. Okay, so the next finished object I worked on is another shawl. And this is the Close to You shawl. And that is by Justina Lorkowska. I know I'm not saying that name right, but I'll put it across the screen. And this was another fun knit, and I really enjoyed knitting this one. And all of my projects and finished objects are on my Ravelry project page. So if you want to check them out, that's where you'll find the details. But I really love the way this came out. I love the colors of the yarn, and it was super fun knit. And again, I'll put a picture of me wearing it. I want to put it on, but the microphone, right? But this is what it looks like on. And it's really, I love it. I will be knitting another one of these. Once I learned the pattern, it was really easy, and it went pretty fast. And I don't know if you do this, but I think I mentioned this the last podcast. I always make a spreadsheet before I start knitting something like this, where there's several pattern repeats and you're supposed to have a certain number at the end of the shawl, certain number of stitches. So what I do is I make a spreadsheet, and so that I know at the end of each row that I'm still on track, and it really is helpful. It's an easy way to keep track of my rows, so each time I finish a row, I just tick it off. And I did that with the Changing Staircases shawl too, and it makes it a lot easier and keeps me out of trouble. But I really like this, the way this came out. And the yarn I used is by a dyer named, the name of her company is Kirsty Cat. Let me open it up. I found her when I went last year to the New Jersey Sheep and Wool Festival. She had a booth, and she goes all over. I see her all over, but that's her. And it's her Just Sock base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And she is www.kirstycat.com, and her name is Kelly Strobe. And the name of the colorway here is Armed But Not Dangerous. And I had it took one skein, and it's just the perfect amount of neck wear around my neck, just perfect for me. And that's how much I had left, so that's going to go into my crochet blanket. But really nice yarn. Yeah. So, and I'm looking up because I have to look through the bottom of my glasses here, which I know you don't care about that. So anyway, that's my second finished object. And I don't know if you care about this either, but when I record my podcast, I do them in segments. So after each segment, I stop the video, get myself prepared for the next thing I'm going to talk about, and it saves me a lot of editing time. So if you see, I hope it's not too choppy. So here I go. I'm going to go on to the next and final finished object. Before I do that, I wanted to say that I knit these this shawl with my signature Needle Arts needles, and they're size 5s, and the cable is very, very long, and I would not use such a long cable. I didn't know how big the shawl was going to get, and there was no way I needed 47 inches. I did find that the stitches, because there's a certain part in the pattern where you're doing some yarn overs, and they were getting stuck. It wasn't easy to slide them over this join. So fortunately, that was only every 14 rows that you had to do that, every 13 rows. So it wasn't too much of an issue. Other than that, they were very nice to knit with. I just wanted to add that in. Okay, the third finished object I have is a pair of socks. They're little shorty socks, and I really like the way these came out. The yarn is Miss Bab's yarn, which I had left over from another pair of socks that I did. And let's see, the colorway is, what is the colorway? Is Ansel. I don't have the label with me, but these really came out nice. I love them. And I just did my usual pattern, recipe for my socks. I think I cast on 56 stitches for these. I'm not sure, but again, it's on my project page. The toes and heels are, there's Heritage sock yarn by, I think they're Cascade, and the color is red. But yeah, these came out really nice. Very nice. So that's my final finished object. Okay, before I go into works in progress, I wanted to mention that we have a group for the podcast, and it's called Joey Scarf, obviously. And my glasses are fogging up here. And we've had a couple of knit-alongs along the way since I started the podcast, and I think it's been 6 months. I've been doing this for about 6 months. So the latest podcast finished on August 1st, and it was called Joey Scarf Cozy Knit-Along, and the idea was to knit something cozy because for the upcoming fall season. Some people did socks, cozy, little shorty socks. Several people did tea cozies, which were adorable. And several of us did shawls. So you could do either 1, 2, or 3 items, and it's the objects that everyone did were really beautiful. And I decided that we need to give a prize out for the lucky person who one lucky person who decided to join us, and that person is Judy, and she is 2B Loop 2 on Ravelry. And she knit a really adorable tea cozy, and I'm going to show you a picture of that now. So congratulations, Judy, to B Loop 2. If you would contact me on Ravelry and send me your address, this is what you're going to get. This is really cool yarn. It's from a Whimsical Wood Company, and it is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it's a DK weight. The color is Where the Wild Things Are, and it's hand dyed by the Skinny Girl of the Woods. And so this is what we'll be sending your way, Judy. and maybe a couple other little goodies. So thanks for participating, everybody. Okay, so I wanted to show you some of the things I've been working on. I was working on these, I think, the last time I podcast, and I have a hoe, a half-finished object, and these are the socks I'm making for Ross, and I completed one. I'm so very excited about it. He tried them on. I do these cuff down, and then I put in an afterthought heel. So what I did is I put in the waist yarn for the afterthought heel, and then finished the rest of them and put the toe in, and then I had him try them on, and they were too big. So I had to take the toe, unravel the toe, and unravel several rows of the foot, and then put the toe back on, and now they fit him perfectly. And I'll know for the next one how much, how long to make them. But I really love the way these came out. And this is also Miss Bab's yarn, and let's see, this is her Hot Shot base, which is 80% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, and it's her, like I said, her Hot Shot base, and this colorway is called Petrified Forest. The yarn is really nice. I like the fabric that it makes. I do these on a size 0, and this is what I have left. More than enough left. The heels and toes are also Miss Bab's, and they're called Hot Shot toes, that base. And this one, the color is hang on a second, sorry, the color is Roasted Pumpkin. That's this. And I did start the second sock just to make sure that it was started, so that I would at least be able to pick it up and work on it. I haven't obviously done too much on it, but I'm excited that I got at least one sock done, and it'll give me the incentive to finish the other one, especially since Ross really likes these and really loved the way they felt on his foot, and that makes me happy and makes me want to knit the other one. So that's my first thing that I'm working on right now. Okay, another thing I'm working on is a blanket for my grandson Jackson. And I don't know, I've been working on this forever. The yarn is, what is the yarn? Is a Karen, and it's acrylic. Maybe that's why I'm having a problem with it, because it just doesn't feel as nice to work with like the yarn I've been using lately, which is mostly merino yarn. And this is just so plasticky feeling or something, I don't know. But it's 100% acrylic, perfect for a kid's garment or blanket. I started off making the Stephen West has a pattern for a blanket. It's called Garter Squish Blanket, and it is it was taking me forever, and I think mainly because I just didn't feel like working on it. It was just going on and on and on and not getting anywhere. So I got maybe this far plus a half of this, so it was quite wide when I decided to take it out. And I took out up to here, And I figured, you know what, I just don't feel like knitting this. And so I said, but maybe it'll be a scarf for somebody. So that's what I did. Not bad, right? The other thing I did was I decided to wash this and see if it would soften up. And I'm so glad I did, because it came out so soft now and so squishy. I'm kind of almost sorry that I took it out, but I figured it didn't really go to waste, because you know, I'll wear this as a scarf. But what I decided to do, I'm going to reach down here. I'm crocheting a blanket for him out of the same yarn, but crocheting goes so much faster when you're doing an object like a blanket, which is a lot of knitting or crocheting and time consuming. And so I've decided to do a granny stripe blanket for him. And now that I know that before I give it to him, I'm going to wash it and it'll just soften up so nice. But this is just a granny, I don't even know if it's a granny stripe, because it's not, I'm not doing, all I'm doing really is double crochet all the way across. It's not the normal three crochets into three double crochets into one. What is that called? I don't remember. But anyway, really, so all I'm doing is just double crochet all the way across. Just double crochet all the way across. What I'm doing that's a little bit different maybe is I'm doing every other row, I'm doing the variegated and then a solid, variegated and a solid. And in order to do that, what I had to do was go crochet to one end, and then instead of turning the work that like you normally do, I would go back to the other end and pick up the next color. And then once both yarns were at the same spot, I'd turn it and then go back. I don't know if this makes any sense to you. Probably not explaining it very well. But I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so it's cool. It's coming out really, I like the way it's pooling and coming out. So I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about this than I was with the garter squish. And I love the garter squish. I've made several of them and they are well received. But Jackson, that's who I'm making this for, my grandson Jackson, his birthday is September 8th. And he's going to be 4 years old, and he's been waiting for this blanket. So I hope I'll get it finished, and I think I should, because like I said, for me, crocheting goes faster. It grows faster. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It grows faster. So that's what I'm up to with that. All right, my final work in progress, and my most favorite, because I'm really excited about it, is my flax light sweater. And this is a pattern by Tin Can Knits. Do I have the pattern here? Yeah. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't have a picture of it. Yes, I do. Comes in from size 0 to 6 months all the way up to 4XL. She's got, the instructions for all of those sizes, and it's a learning experience for me. And actually, it's coming out. I'm doing pretty well with it. I posted a picture of me wearing it on, trying it on Instagram. So since I posted that picture, I have finished the body and I have started one of the sleeves. And I just love the way this is coming out. And I'll put a picture of me wearing the when I tried it on. But it fits really well. And I'm enjoying knitting it, and probably can't wait to make, now I'm thinking maybe, well, the kids should have sweaters. This yarn is Madeline Tosh, and it's her Twist Light, which is 75% merino and 25% nylon. And the color is that, however you pronounce it. And I think I looked that up, and I think it's a city in Mexico or something. But anyway, I don't know what, let's see, did I do anything different with this? Yes. Once I finished the body, and I did the ribbing, the bottom ribbing, and you change to a smaller needle to do the bottom ribbing, and I bound it off, and I tried it on, and the ribbing was just very tight, and I just didn't like the way it looked. I mean, it felt, and it didn't lay right. So I unraveled the ribbing. I unraveled the bind off, actually. I just unraveled the bind off. And I did the Judy's Stretchy Magic bind off instead, and much, much different. It lays very, very nice now. So that's what I did with the only different thing that I did. I had to take out the bind off and then redo it. Let's see. I think that's about it. I really like the pattern. I like the detail on the sleeve, which is it's a garter stitch sleeve, I guess. And that'll go all the way down the sleeve. I don't know, I've heard that if you're using variegated yarn, or when you're using dyed yarn like this, that's the dye lots probably won't match up. You're supposed to alternate skeins. I didn't do that, and I kind of like the different way it's pooling differently. Kind of adds, you're not going to find anything like this anywhere else but on me. So that's the cool thing about hand knits, right? Yeah. So that's the I think that's it for what I'm currently working on. And I haven't cast on for my August socks yet, and I'm still trying to decide what yarn I'm going to use, and I just want to finish the sweater. That's what I want to work on now, and Jackson's blanket. So that's it for my knitting for now. Okay, now I normally don't talk about acquisitions. I said on one of my podcasts that I would talk about the yarn that I'm using when I'm using it, because I could go on and on and on about that, what has arrived in the mail, and I just don't want to do that. But this was really a neat purchase, and I just have to talk about it. So there's a yarn dyer, and also she has a podcast, and the name of her company, her Etsy company, is called the Yarn and I. And she's Cappy. Her name is Cappy. and I think the name of her podcast is The Yarn and I Cappy. But she had the cutest, she was showing the cutest thing on Instagram and on her podcast, and I just had to have this. I thought it was adorable. Isn't that cute? So she's calling this sock smoothies. And I haven't opened it. I haven't taken the yarn out because I just don't want to, because it just looks too cute. The smoothies are, there's a 50-gram skein, which is, I'm assuming, this, and they're fingering sock weight, and there's two 20-gram minis. So that's the pink one in this. So the flavor of this is called Wild Tie-Dye Grape. And I just thought these were adorable. I don't know if she has any more in her shop, but I just had to have one. And I think they're adorable. And maybe this is going to be my August sock. And I'll make a shorty pair. Yeah, and I thought they were cute. And then she was also showing or selling this packet, and she's calling this Saltwater Taffy Mini Skein Set. And they're 4 20-gram hand-dyed mini skeins, speckles, fingering yarn, sock yarn, and there's 368 yards, 80 grams. And I thought these were so pretty. Really pretty. Maybe make a little shawl out of this or something. But yeah. So Cappy, these were so adorable, and I really love them. And she was nice enough to include some stitch markers in with the purchase, and she told me I could either give away or keep. So I think maybe this is going to go along to Judy, who won the Cozy Make Along. But I don't know if you can read this, but it says handmade with love by my mom. So her mother Marcia makes these, and it's at Mom Works for Tea. Which I thought was cute, but really pretty, beautiful stitch markers. Mom does a good job. So thank you so much, Cappy. I really appreciate that. And I just love these. So I had to talk about that acquisition. Okay, another acquisition that I had gotten, we went to, I don't know, in the States we have TJ Maxx. I don't know if they're all over the place, all over the world or not, but in the US they definitely TJ Maxx. You can really find some bargains and some cool stuff at TJ Maxx. So I bought these, and they're storage bins, and they're made out of canvas. I just love the pretty fabric on this. You know, they're lined, and when I'm sitting knitting, I sit in the living room, and that's my knitting space. I have a little section in the living room where we watch TV, and of course piled next to me is all my projects and my yarn, and you know, I thought this would be a nice way to neaten up the area, and instead of having everything sitting on the floor all over the place, I would put them in these storage bins. And they're kind of soft-sided. They have a handle, and I bought 3 of them. So that's one. And this one's another one, just gray. It's got, you know, little leather detail here, but they're really I thought very nice. And then I got a little one. I thought the fabric was so pretty on these too. Like the handles on these, and they were so reasonable. Okay, you ready? Yeah, $6.99 for this. I couldn't pass it up. And this one, the bigger one, yeah, the bigger one was a lot more money. $7.99. I mean, how could you go wrong? Look at that. And this one too was only $6.99. I mean, really, I could not go home without them. And actually, we went on Saturday, and I spotted them on Saturday. And because we live near a shore town, summers here are crazy. Shopping is almost impossible. It was a rainy day on Saturday, so people decided it was a good shopping day. So we were browsing around in TJ Maxx, and I had these bins with me, and we went to check, and I threw my back out, so I have been kind of out of commission. But I figured, well, let me get out for a little bit, so that's why we decided to walk around in TJ Maxx. The checkout line was ridiculous. It was wrapped around and around and around, and my back just started to give out, and I said to Ross, I can't do this. So we just put the stuff down and we left. But those bins have been on my mind, and I was starting to feel a little bit better yesterday, and I said to Ross, it's a sunny day. People are probably on the beach today. I need to go back and get those bins from TJ Maxx, and that's what we did yesterday, and I'm really happy with them. So that was my final finished object. Final finished? No, that was the last acquisition that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so normally what I've been doing when I get to this part in the podcast is I have been using this time to talk about Joe. He's my son that passed away. When I started the podcast, one of the things that I wanted to do was to be able to talk about Joe and share him with you. And I've done that for the past 6 months, and it has helped me so much. And I've gotten to know you through this podcast, and some of you have shared personal stories with me, and it's just it's meant so much to me. I've decided that the format now is going to be a little bit different. I also have a blog. It's called Linda Grace An Hour Away, and that's Linda with a Y. And I like to write, and writing and knitting helped me a great deal through some trying times. So some of the stories that I would still like to share some stories with you if you care to hang out and listen. But some of them now might not be strictly about Joe or grief or things like that. But one of the things, though, it was interesting. My daughter-in-law, Anne, that's Joe's wife, called me the other day to share a story with me. She and Joe were very big fans of an indie band called the Afghan Wigs, and they go back many years being fans of this band. And Joe and Anne dated in college, and during college they kind of went their separate ways, and but they still each remained fans of the Afghan Wigs. So I don't know, a few years after Anne and Joe had not been seeing each other, there was an Afghan Wigs concert in Cleveland, Ohio, and when we live in New Jersey, I don't know how far away Cleveland is, but Joe decided he wanted to go to this concert. So there was, let me see if I can tell the story so it makes sense. There was another fan of the Afghan Wigs at the time. She was a young woman who had moved from Florida to New Jersey, and the fans of the Afghan Wigs had a website that they would all join, and so that they could get to know each other. So this woman, and I'm sorry I don't know her name, she decided to look down the list to see if there was anyone in New Jersey that, you know, she could meet who was a fan of the Afghan Wigs, and she came across Joe's name, and they got in touch with each other, and through, you know, email or whatever, and they started emailing, and then they talked, and they decided that it would be a good thing to go to this concert together in Cleveland. They could drive out together, which they did. And while they were waiting in line to get into the show, Anne happened to also be in line for that show. And mind you, Anne and Joe had gone their separate ways at this point. So, you know, they each went to the concert, and, you know, Anne went with her friends, Joe went with this young lady that he met, and, you know, that was the end of that story. A couple of weeks ago, this same woman, now it's been 5.5 years since Joe passed away, was looking through the list again of fans of the Afghan Wigs and noticed Anne's name, you know, the last name. And she wondered if it was, you know, any relation to Joe. So she looked Anne up on the internet and found a blog. Anne also writes a blog, and this is how she found out that Joe had passed away, this woman. But she contacted Anne and decided they would get together. And it just so happens that this woman, in the meantime, has married, and she has a couple of kids. She has twin daughters, I think, who happen to be the same age as my grandson Domani. They decided to get together and have a play date for the three kids to get together. And Anne and this woman had a nice reminiscence about Joe. And I think it was heartwarming for Anne to find out that all the way to Cleveland, Joe talked about Anne to this woman. And the woman said to Anne, I always knew that the two of you would wind up together, because he really seemed like he was crazy for you. So I thought that was interesting how Joe made an appearance after all of these years and got these two people together, and the connection was there. And so I thought I'd like to share that story with you, because it was, I feel like when something like that happens, I feel like Joe is up there somewhere making things happen like that. But anyway, I do have a little something that I've written, which is about knitting, because I like to write about my knitting too. So I wrote this about a year ago, and it's on my blog. And I'd like to read it to you if you care to listen. I am an avid knitter. I also crochet. Most avid knitters and crocheters I know are yarnaholics. We call our accumulation of yarn our stash. Actually, a knitter's stash can also include knitting needles, project bags, markers, stitch holders, binders filled with hundreds of patterns, and anything else having to do with our craft. But mainly our stash is yarn. I have a 4-tier shelf in my walk-in closet, which holds 8 plastic bins, 2 on each shelf. These bins are filled with yarn. Not all of my yarn fits in those bins, though. Some of it is still in shopping bags from whatever store I purchased the yarn. These bags are on the floor in front of the shelf. Next to my chair in the corner of our living room, known as my nook, I have 2 baskets filled with the yarn of my current projects. Okay, you want to see, don't you? If I had to explain my addiction, I would say that it is a pleasurable, sensorial experience which in turn engages my creative imagination. Tripping on yarn? Perhaps. When I walk into a yarn shop, I'll stop for just a second at the front of the store and sweep the room with my eyes, perceiving the vibrant colors and soft hues of yarn-filled shelves as one large painting. As I make my way down each aisle, I will choose an inviting skein to touch and squeeze and brush my cheek with. I think of who might like a really red hat or a periwinkle shawl. On the way home, my newest acquisitions, safely tucked inside the cute pink shopping bag from my local yarn shop. I solemnly promise not to buy another skein until I get my stash under control. Yep, that's the talk of an addict for sure. Oh, and don't even get me started on Etsy or Instagram. Curses to all of them for standing on my virtual corner. As I pass by, they whisper, "Psst, psst. Hey you, yeah, you there. Come here, come on, closer." Sometimes when I am knitting, I lose myself in flights of fancy. I imagine a great-granddaughter wearing a well-worn scarf that her Grandma Linda knit for her mother a long, long time ago. And I dare to believe that I can somehow knit and crochet my way into perpetuity. So I wonder. No, I don't wonder. I know all of you share that addiction, don't you? And it's so relatable, huh? But what I do wonder about is, what do you think about when you're knitting? Do you think about the person you're knitting for? Do you think that it is somehow a legacy that will make somebody think of you down the road? That's what I do. So that's it for today. I want to thank everybody again for coming to spend some time with me. And there'll probably be some videos at the end of this. And if you'd like, I'd really like it if you would subscribe or hit the like button if you want to. Otherwise, I guess I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. So bye now. You've been doing?
Actually, I mapped out how to get down to Virginia Beach in
Oh,
under 6 hours
okay.
of driving time.
Yeah.
But you won't believe it.
I'll have to see it to believe it. That's without traffic, though, and that's what, on the boat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What are you making there? Let me see the box. Quick red. Banana?
Banana.
Oh.
We threw all those bananas out.
No. You put some peaches in. Or blueberries.
That's
You
an
put some
idea.
blueberries in.
Oh, go get them.
Go get them?
Go get them.
Okay. Well, that means I have to stop this video. Hold on.
3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. 10,000 more than 32. 10,000 more than 33.
I think that's
80,000 one, 80,000 two, 80,000 three.
That's enough.
like it.
Okay, put the blueberries in.
How many do you think I can put in?
Here.
Only put in about 1/3 of a cup. Whoops. Gotta get over here.
So while I was podcasting, what were you doing?
I was mapping trips
Oh. Why are you putting them on a paper towel?
because I want to get the water off. Otherwise, there may be too much liquid
I don't think so.
inside. And I can get all
You know what's going to happen, don't you?
these will burst.
No, but there's going to be blueberries all over the floor pretty soon.
Why?
No reason.
Why are we, is there going to be a big fight here?
Well, if you do a good job at this, I might include you in my podcast.
Okay.
Oh, you did that without spilling any.
4, 5, 6, 8, 9,000.
Well, you really probably should just fold them in. That's a pretty old bowl you got there.
And this is a pretty old stirrer.
Okay. This is going to be dinner.
Half. You have half, I have half. That's dinner.
Hi. Some Jersey fresh tomatoes and peaches there.
My hands are slipping.
Uh-oh. Don't lick that spoon with that raw egg in there.
Used to put a raw egg in a malted milk.
Before people got smarter about it. All right.
Not finished.
You're not finished yet? Every last drop.
Uh-oh.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for showing us that.
Okay. Oh, I did show you something else. Look at the end of the counter. On the counter, right on the countertop. You know what that is?
What is that?
It's a pair of socks.
I know. Where'd they come from?
They came from,
The Humane Society?
that's right, how did you know?
The ASPCA?
That's it.
How nice.
Now I've got to donate money to them.
Yeah, right. All right. Well,
Okay.
see you later. Say
Okay.
bye.
Bye.